Şimdi birinci oturuma geçiyoruz. 4. Uluslararası Sigortacılık Zirvemizin ilk paneli, moderatörü Sayın Türkiye Sigorta Birliği Genel Sekreteri Özgür Obalı. Konumuz ise sigorta sektöründe dijital dönüşüm, yeni teknolojilerin etkileri, üretken yapay zeka ve sigortacıların karşılaştığı zorluklar olacak. Şimdi Özgür Bey ile birlikte S&P Global Ratings'ten Sayın Sachin Sahni, PwC Türkiye'den Sayın Taler Gül, EBRD'den Sayın Levent Tüzün ve Romanya Sigorta ve Reasürans Birliği Başkanı Sayın Alexandru Ciuncan'ı alkışlarınızla sahneye davet ediyorum.
Sesimi duyabiliyor musunuz? Evet. Çok güzel bir kalabalık. Sabah beri çok önemli konukları ağırladık. Birbirinden değerli konuşmaları dinledik. Şu anda bu zirvenin rekor sayısına ulaşmış durumdayız. Aşağı yukarı 1000 kişi burada. Hakikaten hepinize bu yağmurlu İstanbul havasında buraya kadar teşrif ettiğiniz için şahsım, birliğim ve sektör adına öncelikle çok teşekkür ediyorum. Hepinizi sevgi ve saygıyla selamlıyorum. Birbirinden değerli 4 tane panelistimiz var bugün aramızda. Özellikle geçmeden önce de açıkçası TEA'ya inspiring konuşması için çok teşekkür ederiz. Hatta Avrupa perspektifinde bize çok hızlı bir tur attırdı. Ben sırayla konuşmacılarımıza size tanıtmak istiyorum. Özellikle panelistlerimiz her biri farklı backgroundlardan çok önemli bir karma oldu bugün. Hem Türkçe introduction yapacağım, sonra da İngilizceye geçeceğim müsaadenizle. Öncelikle Sachin'den başlamak istiyorum. Sachin birinci panelistim. 2015 yılından beri S&P Global Ratings Dubai ofisinde görev yapıyor. MENA bölgesi Türkiye, Güney Afrika'dan sorumlu. Sigorta şirketlerinin kredi derecelendirmelerinden aynı zamanda sorumlu. Sektöre yönelik raporlar ve analizler yayınlanan deneyimli bir isim. Finans sektöründe 25 yıllık tecrübesi var. Aynı zamanda hem certificated muhasebeci hem de finans alanında MBA sahibi. Sachin'e hoş geldin demek istiyorum. Sachin from S&P Global Ratings, based in Dubai, covers insurance ratings across MENA, Turkey, South Africa, with 25 years of experience in financial services, a strong background in credit analysis. He brings deep industry insight to us. Welcome, Sachin.
Thank you.
Evet, ikinci panelistimiz Taler Hanım. Taler Hanım da sektörümüzde çok iyi tanınan bir isim. Kendisine hoş geldiniz demek istiyorum. Kendisi PwC Türkiye Finansal Hizmetler Sektörü Lideri. 30 yılı aşkın tecrübeye sahip sektörümüzde bankacılık ve sigortacılıktan sorumlu, denetim ve danışmanlık alanlarında yıllarını vermiş. Türkiye'de hem yurt dışında özellikle PwC Paris ofisinde de önemli projelerde yer aldı. Finansal raporlama standartları ve düzenleyici kurumlarla yapılan çalışmalarda da aktif rol alıyor. Taler Hanım hoş geldiniz.
Teşekkür ederim.
Let's welcome Taler Gül. She is PwC's Turkey's financial service leader with over 30 years of experience in banking and insurance. She's an expert in IFRS, which is very hot topic issue, you know, and TFRS and financial regulations. She has worked both in Turkey and globally, including the PwC Paris, and has led many key industry and regulatory projects. Welcome, Taler Hanım.
Thank you.
Evet, Levent Bey sırada, onu size takdim edeyim. Avrupa İmar Kalkınma Bankası'nda kıdemli uzman olarak çalışıyor. Finansal hizmetler alanında yatırımlar, politika diyaloğu üzerinde çalışmaları var. Kariyerine JP Morgan New York ofisinde başlayan Levent Bey, Oxford Üniversitesi'nde kamu politikası yüksek lisansını tamamladı lisans eğitimini ise Yale Üniversitesi'nde aldı. Aynı zamanda Üçlü Komisyon, Atlantik Konseyi gibi çok önemli uluslararası platformlarda da görevler üstleniyor. Hoş geldiniz Levent Bey.
Hoş bulduk.
Please welcome Levent Tüzün, Principal at the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. We call it EBRD in short. He works on investments and policy engagement in the financial sector, and previously he held a role in JP Morgan in New York. Levent holds a degree from Yale and Oxford, and he also a fellow at both the Trilateral Commissions and Atlantic Council. We are delighted to have him in this panel today. Welcome, Levent Bey. And last but not least, I want to introduce my fourth panelist, Alexandru Sincon. He's my friend from Insurance Europe as well. We are both having the seat at Exco of Insurance Europe. Thank you for coming. Kendisi Orta Doğu Avrupa Sigorta özel emeklilik alanında 20 yılı aşkın tecrübeye sahip. Şu anda kendisi Romanya'nın benim muadilim olan UNSAR'ın, yani Türkiye Sigorta Birliği'nin hem başkanlığı hem genel sekreterliğini yapıyor. ISF Yönetim Kurulu üyesi ve daha önce de AIPA gibi Avrupa'nın önemli birimlerinde görev aldı. Ülkesini temsil eden Henley Business School mezunu. Proje ve çevre yönetim sertifikalarına sahip. Alexandru'ya da hoş geldiniz diyorum. Welcome, Alexandru. He is President and General Manager of UNSAR and Board Member at Institute of Financial Studies with over 20 years of experience in insurance and private sector across Central and Eastern Europe, CEE. He has held key roles at AIOPA, APPA, and Exprim. He also Henley Business School graduate, specialized in board governance, leadership. Great to have you in our panel, Alexander. Very
Teşekkür ederim.
Süper. Bir alkış Alexander'a. Evet, bütün panelistlerimiz gerçekten birbirinden değerli. Müsaade ederseniz ben daha mikroya doğru geçmek istiyorum. Dolayısıyla sözü öncelikle Sajin'le başlamak istiyorum. Yeah, Sajin, it will be nice to begin with you to the panel. So we can have just a great perspective from the rating side. In your analysis, how do significant investments, I mean, you are doing many analysis, but in digitalization, I think it's a very valuable component, I think, when you are focusing on ratings of the companies. How do significant investments in digitalization by a company influence its credit rating, first of all? Specifically, what qualitative and quantitative factors do you evaluate to determine whether these investments lead to improved financial performance, operational efficiency, or enhanced risk management, as we discussed since the morning? Please, the floor is yours.
Sure, thank you. I would just like to cover that, of course, as S&P Global Ratings, we provide an independent opinion on the creditworthiness of an insurance company, of banks, sovereigns, and corporates. So in our analysis, there is a lot of focus on the financial data, which is your capital, your profitability, your competitive position, your investments. But with the digital age, we also see how companies are differentiating themselves as compared to, some of the competitors. So I'll just take you through some of the slides. So again, what you see on the screen is around 10, 15 parameters where we assess each and every insurance company on. And as I said, apart from the quantitative metrics, which is capital, financials, we also assess them based on digital initiatives. So how advanced the company has invested into digitalization, AI. In today's world, let's say if you see Turkey market, there are 60+ players, and even if you see the top 5 or 10, all companies have capital, all companies have human capital. What would differentiate the top 5 in comparison to why a customer will go to them? In a marketing term, they call it turnaround time, TAT, and digital and AI can actually, ignite that. We have seen companies who have invested a lot in digital and, whether it's product creation, innovative products, in terms of partnership with insurtechs. If a company can demonstrate that they have an edge over and above their competitors, and they are able to leverage that. So there is no absolute quantitative metrics that you invest 10 million, 100 million, and we will give you a score. It's not a quantitative metrics. It's about what does that investment lead to. So if we see that Turkey market or another market is growing by 20%, and one of the insurers has invested heavily in digital insurtech, and they are able to capture a market sector more than the market. So they are growing consistently at 30, 40%. So that creates a niche for them. But again, we also don't see only the growth. Top line creation is still easy. We also need to make sure that the growth comes with profitability. And the second is they have already put risk controls in place. Growing faster on digital at a compromise of risk will be actually disastrous. We have seen some cases where there has been acquisitions, mergers, acquiring insurtechs, and then there is one cyber attack. So you have to go through a reputational risk, you have to go to financial risk, and there is litigation risk. So for us, investment which translate into efficiency is more important than just building numbers. I will just take you through some of the examples. I mean, this is what we see the market is doing. And there is a clear difference between digitalization and AI. Digitalization started, let's say, 20, 25 years ago. Converting a process from manual to digital is digitalization. Putting in human intelligence, mimicking human intelligence into your processes, where the system can actually give you an output which mimics human, but at the end, the human takes the decision. I think that is the key differentiator between digitalization and AI for us. Again, I've talked about predictive analysis. So we speak to some insurance companies. There are a few products which they are actually trying to make AI, so where they have the historical data, they have market data. They are trying to make underwriting along with AI. They are trying to make claims processing using AI. Now, it's very difficult to prove a quantitative metrics that this benefit came out of that, but over a period of time, as I said, you can clearly differentiate between what is happening. I'll quickly run through, I've talked about the positives, but again, for us, we also cover the risk. So one of the key risks we identify is, as companies become more and more digital, the threat of confidentiality is there because insurance companies carry a lot of personal data. I have some examples which I can talk about them later where more than 50 million individual medical data was breached. The company had to pay ransom, there was reputation risk, there were fines, there were litigations. So you need to go digital, but then you also need to be a bit prepared for them. I mean, we have talked about bias, so AI models are sometimes biased. So the data you put in, the AI will throw the model output like that. So if your data is not correct, then the output will also not be correct. One important space we have seen is the more a company becomes digital, we call it, the attack surface becomes widened. So if you have one platform which is exposed to the market, it's like you have one platform which can be attacked. But if you go digital, you put all of your systems on AI, you increase the attack surface. So again, digitalization is important, but again, you'll have to manage the risk controls over that. I'll quickly cover cyber insurance because this is one of the areas which we are monitoring as a rating agency. Now we have seen, now this is both from perspective of what insurance market can do for other sectors, so promoting cyber insurance, selling cyber insurance to the market, but also to cover themselves. We have seen insurance companies being attacked, and it's a both-way product. From our analysis, the cyber market is expected to grow by 15 to 20%, reaching 23 billion by 2026. The fundamentals are still profitable. Of course, it's a growing market, so the products are evolving. But I think most of the adaptation has been in either US or European markets, and the emerging markets are gradually adapting to these changes. We have done some also analysis where we have seen some of the large multi-line reinsurers, the global players, and if they have a simulated attack, cyber attack, what impact it could have on them. And based on that analysis, and it's an average of more than 3,000 companies taken into sample, it can reach, and these are big players, it can reach up to 10% of their income or 1% of their equity. Now, bigger players can absorb it, but if a smaller player gets such size of attack, it could be detrimental to their existence. Again, we'll talk about just on the, I mean, this is a very big article, so I'm happy to share links to that. But I think the key risks, what we have seen is, these risks will keep on emerging. The markets have to evolve with them. And then we will assess the positives in our competitive position, but we will also assess the negatives in our risk exposure and in the governance structure. So as I said, we take a balanced approach, and then we assess companies based on that. Again, these are the general trends, but I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sajin. I mean, yeah, I think insurance sector has two roles. I mean, for himself or herself, and the rest of the ecosystem. So we have to cover both the risks for our companies and to cover it and reconstruct it after all when it happens. So thank you. So I want to come to Taler Hanım. PwC is one of the issuers of the very comprehensive and credited, I mean, valued reports all over the world. It's called Banana Skin. I want to go through on it. I mean, can you please, Taler Hanım, tell us about what Banana Skins tell us throughout the history? What are the trends going on all around the world in terms of digitalization and AI? Thank you very much. Floor is yours.
Thank you Özgür Bey. Ben de tüm değerli katılımcıları ve değerli yöneticilerimizi selamlayarak söz almak isterim, söze başlamak isterim. Yes, hello everyone. In my term, I would like to present the survey called Banana Skins. It is a very old survey, actually. It's been conducted since 2007. So this is the 10th edition because it is done every 2 years. Why it is relevant for this year, especially for the summit? Because I will present it in the next slide, but you will see that the most emerging risks coming out from the Banana Skins are risks related to technology risk. So I think it's very, very relevant for today and for today's summit as well. The survey is done with the participants of 700 people approximately. Yeah, and it is done in 40 countries, Turkey included. And what we do in this survey, the objective of the survey is to ask the participants to assess, in their view, what are the risks that are relevant for the insurance industry for the next 2-3 years. So we ask them about 23 potential risks, and we ask them to rank those risks from 1 to 5. The survey is done actually by Center of Study for Financial Innovation, and PwC is sponsor of this survey for very, very long time. Okay, let's move on now to the result of the survey for this year, with comparison with the prior survey, which is done in 2023. You will see that cyber risk is number 1, in both surveys, whereas AI, artificial intelligence, is the fast mover. So from, I believe, 7 in 2023, moved to second most significant risk in the recent survey. So this is very, very high moving item, high moving risks. Technology, again, it's ranked number 3, and the other risks are more traditional risks that we see from year to year. But what is also important to see that the regulation, the risk of regulation, which was seen as a higher risk in prior periods, now is more measure may be rationalized and it's moved to maybe 10th risk. So this is how the risk map is moving from one year to another. So maybe if we can look further bit behind and look at what has happened from 2015 to this year, actually, again, we will see that, for instance, macroeconomic risk, which were significant in 2015 and before, is slowing down. But the risk related to technologies are moving in starting from 2017, such as cyber risk. And cyber risk, you can see it's the first on the last 3 survey. And artificial intelligence, which is the second risk for this year, was introduced in 2023. And technology also moved in 2017. And there are other risks at the bottom. You can see that we don't see anymore in the top 10 risks. So this is a map that shows us how the risk moved in this long period of time. Okay, I will focus first on the cybercrime, which is, as I said, the first risk. So the insurance practitioners, participants of the survey, think that this is the risk that the insurance industry is most vulnerable. Why? Why is like that? Because the participants think that it's unpredictable. It is no longer if it's going to happen. The question is when it's going to happen. So it's very evolving. It's unpredictable. And that's why it is always keeping the first rank, the top rank on the list of the insurance. And especially with the emerging technologies and AI, this is becoming even more, I would say, risky, a really banana skin. All right, from moving on to the second risk is AI. AI in itself is a risk. Based on the participants' response, we understand that there are 2 aspects of this risk. Is, of course, not being able to apply AI on time and sufficient enough, and that's creating maybe falling back from the competitive edge, not being as competitive as the other insurance companies, and also losing efficiency, and also client service, because customer service, because AI would allow personalized customer service, whereas the lack of the lack of necessary tools will diminish that. So that's a significant risk affecting competition. But also there is another risk, another factor, which is the risk of using AI. So bringing bias in the decision-making process, bringing also maybe more, I would say, opening doors to fraud. So that's also another risk that is perceived. So that itself, so 2 aspects of AI. And as I said, AI also opens another maybe door to cyber risk, creating more cases, more, let's say, complex and sophisticated cases in cyber attacks, which, of course, in itself would be difficult to detect and maybe more difficult to develop responses. All right, the third maybe important risk is perceived as technology risk. What we mean in technology risk is actually we address to the legacy IT systems, legacy infrastructures. So these are, when we have the old systems, we cannot adapt them with the new technologies, and this is perceived as a significant risk by the insurance practitioners participating to this survey. Another maybe factor to this risk is the strategic risk, because when we invest on technology, we sometimes invest on frontline, meaning that we invest on the front face, on the customer experience side, and not the infrastructure side. So that's also a risk based on the company's strategies. It has also an economic factor, because it is very expensive to modernize legacy IT systems. And while we are modernizing, we can also have the risk to be, again, old, because the technology is moving very fast. So it's very difficult to make the right investment decisions. We have also analyzed this survey by geographical areas. You can see that in North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific, actually the three risks are emerging in all these regions. In Africa, however, we also see the macroeconomic risk also among the three. But overall, we can see that it's all comprehensive, it's all similar risk in all regions. If we move from this to Turkey, because in this survey we also had significant participants from Turkey, therefore we had a special cut for Turkey. So we can analyze how the Turkish insurers perceive the risk in the insurance market vis-à-vis the global survey. So we can see some deviations. All right, technology, AI, and cyber risk are still number 4, 5, and 6. But some traditional risks are still important for the Turkish insurers, such as regulation, climate change, and macroeconomic environments. What is important is that in Turkey we also see social change modeling, which also comes from the demographic changes and the affordability of the insurance products with this demographic change. We finished the survey by including or asking how ready you are with this challenging risk and environment. There is slight improvement from the prior survey period. So on global basis, we are on 3.27, whereas in the last survey, we were about 3.24. So it's about the same, little bit improvement. That shows that on the new risk, the participants are more worried. On the traditional risk, the participants feel they are more ready to face the challenges. So this, I believe, conclude the survey results. And what is important, of course, to think about the risk and the opportunities at the same time, and be ready and get for the risk and for the challenges.
Talan, thank you very much. I mean, very comprehensive and very significant figures, really. I mean, especially when we consider the differences between the areas and the continents, it's really, the Turkey is really very differentiating from the, priorities, from the rest of the world. Macroeconomic, political risk, a little bit much more on our agenda. Anyway, so I want to thank you very much. I want to come to, in the first to Levent Bey. Levent Bey is, as I mentioned, is from EBRD, and EBRD is very well known from the social banking sector worldwide. They are really were very active during especially the earthquake year in Turkey. There were many wide areas. They are giving support, especially the European, Africa, etc. But we have to maybe give the floor to him. I want to come with this question. Levent Bey, EBRD is an active and prominent investor, we know it. Provider of technical assistance, policy dialogue, partner in Turkey's economy as well. But it is perhaps somewhat new to the insurance sector. I mean, we know it from the banking side, but what can you tell us about the EBRD and its activities in Turkey. The floor is yours.
Ben de davetiniz için çok teşekkür ederim öncelikle. It's a pleasure to be here. Yes, I'd like to shift gears briefly and tell you first a little bit about EBRD before we turn to how we operate in the realm of digitalization and also insurance. So EBRD is an international financial institution set up in 1991, and it's owned by 75 countries. The largest single country shareholder is the United States, but the EU countries as a whole own more than 50% of the bank. And importantly, every country we operate in is also a shareholder of the bank, and that includes Turkey. Our capital base of 34 billion euros is supported by our capital markets activities, for which we have a AAA rating. Now, everything we do is divided basically into six. These 6 adjectives that you see on these slides. And what that means is we try to describe the ideal market economy by using these words, that they are competitive, well-governed, inclusive, integrated, resilient, and green. We are a development bank, which means, especially given EBRD's special mandate, we try to help our countries of operation become better market-led economies that exhibit all these properties in all the activities that we do. This is just a brief map of the EBRD region. We have been operational in Turkey since 2009, and you can see it's a big geography spanning east and west. And by the end of this year, we will have some additional countries of operation, which will include parts of sub-Saharan Africa and Iraq. I can summarize what EBRD does in basically 3 key activities. We either invest, we engage in policy dialogue with policymakers in our countries of operation, and/or we provide advisory, also to our private sector clients. For example, on topics of digital transformation, which we will get into a little later, or let's say the green transformation. Just to give you an idea about the size of our investments, we deploy 15+ billion euros in our almost 40 countries of operation every year. And we typically invest in about 500 to 600 projects. And in line with our mandate to support the private sector in each country, almost 80% of our investments go to the private sector. Here you can see Turkey as a standalone country compared to all the other regions. Our portfolio in Turkey is almost 8 billion euros. The pie chart you see on the right is also broadly representative of our portfolio in Turkey. So there's about half in energy and infrastructure, and a quarter to a third in manufacturing and services and financial institutions. And as Özgür Bey started his remarks earlier, we have been a very active investor and policy dialogue partner in the banking sector in Turkey since we arrived. But the insurance sector is new to us, and that's why I'm especially happy to be here meeting all of you today. I already mentioned our portfolio size, and the cumulative investments we've made in Turkey since entering the country has reached 22 billion euros. And lastly, I should also mention that after the devastating earthquakes 2 years ago, we've also made available more than 1 billion euros to our clients in the financial sector as well as the corporate sector, and that's also being deployed. I'm saving all the digitalization content for the second part, but I promise you we're going to get there.
Thank you. I mean, we need you because, you know, in terms of the social dialogue partner, I think from Talarano's view, you know, the preparedness, I think EBRD will have so much role in the, you know, balancing this, you know, differentiating and filling the gaps between the regions, hopefully, yeah. Alexandru, I mean, I want to turn to you. I mean, Romania, Turkey is very similar markets. but you are a member of EU. From both perspectives, you will, I think, add tremendous value to our discussion. When we wrap up the first round, there are many things mentioned, you know. So how do you see that digital transformation and AI helping to close our protection gaps, you know, in terms of the CE markets, when you consider, because you are very, you know, aware of what's going on in the Eastern Europe. I know that the market, you are very familiar and very hands-on, I know it. So it will be really having some clues about our region as well. So yeah, the floor is yours. I mean, it will be very helpful if you share your opinions. Thank you, Alexandru.
Teşekkürler Özgür Bey. Let me start first and foremost by congratulating you. I mean, not only for this conference, which is extremely interesting, but for the development of the Turkish insurance industry. I mean, we are talking about growth rates of between 50% in euro and 72% in Turkish lira, which is really impressive. And also, I found out that you have a thriving insurtech scene here in Turkey. So I think that we have a lot of things as a market. On behalf of Romania, I can say that we have a lot of things to learn from you. Now, in terms of digitalization, we know that it's already changing every aspect of our lives and the insurance industry. And this has already happened, and it's happening continuously. But I think that we are already just scratching the surface here. There is a book published somewhere around 2017 or 2019, written by a specialist called Rob Galbraith. The title is The End of Insurance as You Know It. And when it first appeared, of course, the title says it all. When it first appeared, all the insurance community and a lot of specialists are really concerned about the fact that AI, IoT, digitalization, and all these new trends are going to destroy insurance or to change it forever. And now, here we are, almost 10 years later. Things haven't changed in that direction. Or they have changed in that direction, but the speed wasn't the speed that was predicted. And also, a lot of new trends appeared. Yeah, who saw generative AI coming? Yeah, very few people. Who saw, or who can actually see now the developments that AI can have and the implementations, use cases that it can have in insurance. Yeah, we can see major things, we can see some trends, but I'm not sure that we can fully see the future as it will be. So we are scratching the surface. However, going back to your original question, I think that we can definitely leverage AI in order to bridge the protection gap, not only Romania, but in CE and in Europe altogether. I mean, if I look at the Turkish market, you have a penetration rate of somewhere around 2%. And yes, congratulations, you're looking forward to go to 4.7%, as your president mentioned. Yeah, so you already have a plan in this direction, and you have a number on it, which is really impressive. The CE markets now, they have a penetration of roughly 2.5% gross written premiums in the gross domestic product. Yeah, Romania has 1.35. So bottom line is that I think we are forced to use digitalization, AI, generative AI, and any kind of new development in order to bring insurance closer to people. And actually, AI is used. I was looking at some data from IOPA. Thea knows them for sure better than I. 1/2 of Europe's non-life insurers, they already use some sort of an AI tool or technique as we stand. And 1/4 of life insurers in Europe, they already use it. But probably this is still early stages. Of course, we can only look at the future. We can look at a moment in time when we call the insurance company or we interact with an AI-based chatbot, and that chatbot manages to put together an insurance product which is tailored for our needs on the spot and price it accordingly. The future might go in that direction. So we'll just have to wait to see, but bottom line, technology, digitalization, AI, it's not a scope per se. It's a tool, and a tool that we must use in order for our industry to become even more relevant, or at least not to lose its relevance.
Yeah.
Because this is a threat that I think we are all facing at this moment. And I'm here speaking to a motor insurance-driven market, same as Romania, same as most of the CE markets. So we have a lot of work to do, and I think we need to keep our minds open. And I think, as Thea was mentioning, we also need to keep regulation flexible enough and proportional in order to allow shareholders, insurance undertakings, distributors to be more innovative.
Yeah. Maybe it comes to another question to Mehmet. It brings, I mean, from your vantage point, do you see the generative AI, for example, as a real opportunity? I mean, we are small markets. I mean, when we compare the big brothers like Germany, Spain, France, etc. But it will be it bring an opportunity, or it will bring some costs. Will we be at this race? Are we on the safe side, or it will be a negative effects when we compare to these big economies? How do you think? I mean, Romania, Turkey, CEE?
Yes and no. There are opportunities and challenges. I mean, in terms of opportunities, yes. If you are a younger market, a developing insurance market, you can definitely implement new technologies and new systems faster, and probably in a more efficient way. On the other hand, I think that the costs, it's difficult to dilute the costs when the insurance penetration is not that high, when insurance density is not that high. You don't always have the right resources in terms of people and capital to introduce these cutting-edge technologies. On the other hand, when I'm taking my daughter to school in the morning, I speak with ChatGPT, and we can do it in several different languages, and we can find out about anything in a matter of seconds. If someone would have told me 10 years ago that I would be able to do that in my car without actually paying anything, it's free of charge, yeah, I would have said that this is an episode of Star Trek. So, yeah, who knows what can happen.
Who knows, okay. Let's look at the future and hope it will be, we have to bring these opportunities under control, I understand, Thank you very much indeed for your opinions. I mean, I want to again get to Sajin. Maybe, I mean, Sajin, when we consider the cyber risks from S&P perspective, how does a cyber attack on a company from your side, credit rating, influence the credit rating assigned by S&P Global? What key factors do you evaluate to determine the potential impact on the company's overall creditworthiness? I mean, Taler Hanım mentioned some, factors that, preparedness, etc. Maybe you can take this, the floor from this side. Please, the floor is yours.
Yeah. I mean, of course, we can cover the impact of cyber attacks. I think there is a big difference on what we think we are ready for, and when it actually comes, then it looks like we were not actually prepared. And I think going back to your survey on preparedness, I mean, as I said, generally we believe that, okay, the bigger companies invest more and they are prepared, but sometimes we have seen that some of the biggest companies have gone through cyber attacks and they were actually not fully prepared. I mean, we have a poll question and we can do it with a raise of hands. So sitting here, how many of you believe that your companies are prepared for a cyber threat? Do you have comprehensive strategy in place? You're on the top quartile. Do you believe you have moderately prepared? So again, just as a show of hands, how many companies believe that they follow the A, where they are fully prepared, fully integrated, they have risk controls in place? So we see a couple of hands. Let's go to B. How many of you think that you have measures But there still there is a risk of, there is an area of improvement, and there are, some more hands going up. How many of you would be on the bottom side of C and D, where you say that we are aware of the risk, but either we have done some work or we have actually not started anything?
Sajin, sorry. Please use the Slido to answer the questions. He'll also give the QR code here. Please use the Slido, please. It will be very helpful. Sorry for interrupting.
No problem. I think this is a better way.
You see the questions and Slido in here. Bu arada Slido'yu soru sorarken de kullanmanızı istirham edeceğiz. Soru session'ına geçtiğimizde oradan sorularınızı alıyor olacağız. Bütün session'larda bu teknolojiyi kullanıyor olacağız. Teşekkürler. Sorry, Sajin. Please go on.
Shall we wait for the results, or we can?
No. I mean, maybe you can go on over the questions.
We can come back to the answers.
Can you please take the poll questions again, one side, and the Slido the other side? Thank you. QR code as well. One side slides, the other side Slido. Okay. Please.
Yeah, okay, so we can come back on the output, but just to give you some examples, and these are the press release, so I can talk about them in public, what went through some of the names. I mean, there is a lot of background information which is confidential, but I'm sure you would have heard about United Healthcare Group. This is the largest health provider in US. And as I said, we assume that US is advanced in technology and investment in digitalization. This was a live example where data of more than 100 million people captured by them was breached. In terms of size, it was 6 terabyte of data, and it was like medical records, so it's confidential. There were a ransom there was a ransom demand, and then there was a second ransom demand to release it. So there were 2 ransom demands. Finally, what we saw, and I think that was not the end of it.
I think we can end the poll.
Yeah, we can come back to it. What we found in this case was there were significant delays because they had to cut off their systems. And this is, I'm talking about the biggest healthcare network in US. The estimated cost was more than $3 billion. And that is, it's difficult to assess cyber risk. I mean, you can quantify some of the cost. You cannot identify reputation risk. You cannot identify some of the qualitative cost. The company had a share price decline of 15%, and then it is still exposed to reputation risk, litigation risk, operational risk, and financial risk. So, and these are the standard, phishing attacks on company's platform. And as I said, the more integrated you become, there's one more aspect of third party. If you're opening your system to third party providers, whether it's third party administrators or agents or whoever, like I was saying earlier, the more you expose yourself, I think you have to do it. You can't say, I will keep myself digitally closed. But I think you have to make sure that you have adequate controls in place so that the threat doesn't come to you. In this case, thankfully, the attack was on the Change Healthcare, which was more of a managing the claims like a third-party thing. So it didn't come to the insurance company, but still the impact was material enough. We had another example where we published on the company. This is CNA Financial. Here, the risk was not material because the company, even though they had a threat, they had an attack, but still they were very well prepared. So as soon as the attack happened, they cut off their systems. They made sure that there is no further data breach. Again, the quantum of the data was also not that material, but they also had to go through a ransom payment of around $40 million, which was one of the highest at that time a ransom was paid for cyber attacks. So again, one is you cannot save yourself in this digital world. You can be prepared. And the second is you can be prepared, but then as a credit analyst, when I see the company, do you have sufficient buffers in your capital to absorb this, the emerging risk of technologies, which is very difficult to quantify. I think, Talar, you mentioned about that, it's emerging, people don't know the quantum. You can say it's 10 million, you can say it's 100 million. So it's very difficult to quantify these risks. I think just one more slide I have. Now this Risk Recon is a platform which we use, so we don't endorse them, but they do cybersecurity ratings, and they have a scale from A to F. The chart on the left shows that the worst score you have on the rating from Risk Recon, the more exposed you are to cyber attacks. So if you see on the left side, the F had the highest number of attacks on their system because their cybersecurity is not that strong. On the right side, we have, it was a report done with Risk Recon and S&P Global, where it was for the rated companies, where we saw that at least for rated companies who have more internal, risk controls, they are at least risk aware of, controlling their risk. At least for those, if you see the A, B, and C is more than around 70, 80% of the scores. So generally, what we see is that as a company is more advanced in terms of, and again, it's not only cyber risk. You can't say I will only cover one risk and ignore the others. You have to cover all your risks, whether it's underwriting, whether it's credit, whether it's political, and cyber has come on top of it now. And I think that is something which we have observed. I don't know if you want to go back to the poll or we can move to the next.
Thank you. Can we have the poll results to the screen? Poll sonuçlarını alabilir miyiz ekrana? Var mı? Efendim? Ne olmuş?
It's okay. You can.
Poll'a cevap dönmemişler mi? 122 tane var bende gözüküyor. Teknik bir sorun var anladığım kadarıyla. Peki. Okay. We cannot see the poll results, unfortunately.
No problem.
Sorry. It's technology and risks happen sometimes. So, thank you very much indeed. As you mentioned, if you're the company is much more ready for the attacks and risks, it will be much more vulnerable, much less vulnerable to the attacks, as I assumed. So the figures that you mentioned are tremendous. So as Uğur Bey mentioned, our chairman in the morning session, you see, Turkey, even Turkey has collecting data of billions of transactions. So I cannot imagine the big markets. So I want to come to Talar Hanım again. Maybe you please. Thank you very much for the very good report results. The report highlights cybercrime as a top risk, as you mentioned, for the third time in a row. But it is now coming with AI, making attacks even harder to defend against. From your perspective, what should insurers prioritize to stay resilient in this fast-changing cyber landscape? And I also want to ask you, artificial intelligence, broader technology risks are now ranked in the second and the third in the report. How do you see the balance between risk and opportunity for insurers when it comes to adopting these technologies? We have to run fast to catch the pace, but we have to be careful. So, what are your recommendations to the market?
All right. As you said, cyber risk is very important for the insurance market, is the top at risk ratings. And it is becoming more and more sophisticated with the AI usage and the tools provided by AI because of the facility, let's say, with respect to fraudulent activities. It is very important to be ready, as you also mentioned, and it is very important to work with the regulators in order to, for the ecosystem, and also work with the, make the right investments in order to detect timely any attack and restore operations and develop the responses, and hopefully also prevent the attacks. So it's very important to protect data, restore operations, and again, not to lose confidence of your customers. So these are the key factors for insurance, and for that, I think the investment is a very key factor to make the right investments with the right strategies. As Uğur Bey mentioned at the beginning of his opening speech, it's very important to also develop the strategy for the right technology, because obviously it requires lots of investments. And AI is something that we cannot avoid, and if we do, it looks like we are going to lose our competitive advantage. It is very important for our risk modeling, for our claim processing, for our services to our customers, so we cannot fall behind on that one. But it is also very important to adopt the right strategies in terms of the adapting the governance structure, and also bringing in light the right control environment, so that we can mitigate the risks involved.
Sorry.
It's okay. I hope.
It's for the questions. I mean, tekrar anımsatmak istiyorum. Lütfen QR kodlarınızla panelistlerimize sorularınızı yöneltebilirsiniz. İstirham edeyim. Benden kaynaklı bir şey olmuş. Dün de provasını çokça yapmıştık ama slaydoyu ne zaman kapatıp açacağım konusunda sanıyorum. Şimdi açık. Lütfen sorularınızı QR kodu okutarak telefonlarınızla alabiliriz. You can forward your questions to the panelists through the QR codes. I know it, but you know, green means pass. You know, so thank you. Sorry. So I want to come to Levent Bey. We I think stop at the EBRD's perspective in terms of digitalization. So what is your approach? In the morning session, also our regulators chairman has mentioned that you have a joint program with EBRD and SEDEDK. So what is your approach to digitalization, especially in terms of financial technologies, fintech, insurtech? How do you view the state of digitalization in Turkey from EBRD perspective? How is EBRD's approach to digitalization playing out in the Turkish financial sector in terms of investment, technical cooperation? Please, floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, with pleasure. I want to draw from Sachin's remarks and Uğur Bey's speech this morning. So I think you made the important point that digitalization and AI, for now, are still two distinct things. Yeah. Now, AI might grow up to take over everything we do digitally and generate its own technologies that will dwarf all the other tools we have. But for now, I think it's useful to think of them as two distinct things, and perhaps AI as a kind of digitalization. This is, I think, especially important for insurers, because the insurance sector is actually used to working with structured data. What AI brings is the ability to reason with and work with unstructured data. And we're going to talk a little more about what that means for the sector, but just to paint a picture. Now, at EBRD, we think of digitalization in three layers. First is foundation. How can we make countries more digitally capable by investing in their digital infrastructure? And how can we make sure that the legal environment, the regulatory environment, keep up with these changes. The second one is about adaptation. And this is where our lending comes in. How can we lend to corporates and also the financial sector so that businesses in the economy can take on digital transformation and take the next step? So in the financial sector, this typically means we lend to financial institutions who then on-lend on our behalf to their clients in the real economy. And then the third layer or pillar of our digital approach is innovation. EBRD also invests in equity or equity-like instruments issued by startups and other innovative companies, Turkey very much included. And this is where we try to invest in the future. So not just in existing companies transforming themselves digitally, but digital-first, natively digital companies also can get support from us. And cybersecurity, which we've heard a lot about this morning, plays a constant role from performing cybersecurity audits to technological upgrades. Now, I want to spend just a minute on the insurance sector and development finance. So for us as a development bank, we are closely watching the sectoral developments related to technology. These, of course, include AI. They include parametric insurance, especially when it comes to our agricultural lending. Embedded products, because we think this is a fast way to generate more penetration. We also look at Internet of Things, where large infrastructure and corporate assets can be monitored in real or near real time for better, more accurate insurance coverage. And we also look at cyber, both from a risk perspective, but also from cyber insurance products perspective. As I said, EBRD does three things. We either invest, we engage in policy dialogue, or we provide advisory. So as the IPRSA chairman, Mentesh, this morning mentioned, let me end with one positive and active note for Turkey. So later this week, together with IPRSA, EBRD will be launching a technical cooperation project whose objective is to advance the supervisory functions and capabilities of the IPRSA with digital tools. We're going to take a look at prudential and conduct supervision functions and see where the institution wants to be more agile, more digital. The project will take around 4 months initially, and we hope to help the cause in this regard, which in turn will hopefully improve communications and make them more digital between IPRSA and all the insurance companies in the sector. So let me end on that positive note.
Thank you. Can we have this opportunity to EBRD's support in terms of this view for the association as well?
Very happy to explore that.
Thank you. Thank you. So I want to come my final panelist, Alexandra. I mean, you know, since we are, as I mentioned, we are very similar markets, but you know, you are a member of EU. So when EU is moving ahead with frameworks like AI Act, as Thea mentioned as well, how do these shape, do you think, that the way insurers approach the digitalization and innovation from your perspective?
Yeah. Well, you know this, and Thea mentioned, from this point of view, the EU is leading in the world in terms of regulating AI. With the AI Act, which was passed in 2023, if my memory serves me well. But it's still not fully operational. There are parts of it which will become operational, will be enforced in 2025 and 2026. But if you look at it, it's not only the AI Act, it's also the subsequent pieces of legislation. IOPA keeps publishing opinions on the implementation of the AI Act. So, yeah, from another perspective, it's unfortunate that some parts of the insurance value chain have been considered high-risk services through the AI Act. like pricing and risk assessment in life and health insurance. So they need special treatment and risk management and government procedures and policies. But on other type of services which are not forbidden or considered high risk, we can definitely work on. The most important thing is that we need to have this balance, as I've mentioned previously, between innovation and regulation, and keep the momentum going. Because otherwise, if you go in the area of over-regulation, you kind of stop innovating things. So, and it's also important to keep the legal architecture, the framework, the regulatory framework, human-centric. Yeah. Because we always, and let me give you an example, we always think about how efficient and good chatbots are, for example, whether they are not or not, they are powered by AI. But once you spend 30 minutes discussing with a robot, and you keep trying to discuss with a human operator, yeah, I'm not sure that you will have the same opinion. Yeah. So as long as all the processes are supervised by a human at the end of the day, as long as you as a customer, you can still interact with your insurance distributor, with your insurance company directly, and have the option of also discussing with a human being, I think we can use AI efficiently in trying to bring insurance closer to consumers. And I think this is valid everywhere.
Yeah, I think there will be a very collaborative era for the next coming years between the digital artificial intelligence and the human beings. I think we can, really benefit from the powers of AI in terms of calculating and bringing data in front of us. But human being will always, hopefully, rule and make the final decision, hopefully. I mean, it will be safe for the human being, I think. So I want to come to the end of our session. Do you have any questions from the, maybe I want to go to the, I think we don't have any questions from the, sistemden iletmeniz gerekirdi ama o zaman please alalım hemen tek soru.
Thank you very much for this fantastic panel. My name is Bruno Bertucci. I'm the CEO of REM Insurance, MENA. I'm running the operation for REM Insurance, which is a Bermuda insurance company. We focus only and only on the risks that were highlighted by PwC. So we insure only Web3, blockchain, crypto exchanges, digital banks, and so on. So this risk, AI and cyber, are not seen by insurance company only as a part of the development, technical development of the insurers, but also as the opportunity, because these are things that we insure. To give you some ideas, for example, in UAE is very advanced when it comes to technology. We have the ESG Innovation Hub that counts 1,400 startups in AI, fintech, insurtech, proptech. The central bank has started its own innovation hub. The Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority that is regulating now crypto exchanging and giving licenses is now more than 1,300 startups and larger organizations applying for licenses. Cryptocurrency is declared as a currency by the UAE Central Bank. To say that AI is now something, innovation is something that is already happening. And very few insurers, probably we are the leader worldwide on this, are focusing on this risk because all this risk needs not only to be addressed when it comes to cyber crime and so on, but it needs to be requires insurance. 99% of the traditional insurance companies don't provide any form of cover to these people, to these companies, and we are looking here from the insurtech perspective, and I would agree probably from the insurtech perspective we are probably slower when it comes to the digital banking, payment houses. They are now growing continuously. And it's something that could lead to the opportunities that were mentioned before, looking at the map of the risk. This is something that is the new frontier for insurance.
Thank you. Do you have any questions to the panelists, or you have to?
No,
just
I just
mention...
wanted to add some comments to add to this part.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Efendim, son bir soru daha alayım, kapatayım. Normalde, I want to only have another question. I think you couldn't use the Slido, but you know we have to make it açık. We have to make it much more easy. I mean, mikrofonu beyefendiye verelim, kapatayım. Buyurun.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is, I listen to many, thank you. I listen to many good things, illuminating. Despite my 61 years.
Biz burada ekodan dolayı duyamıyoruz ama. Üstadım.
Despite my 61 years in insurance still going on, I learned many things in this to start with. But one thing I always put on the top of my agenda in this profession is penetration. Thank you to one of the panels, Giorgio. He mentioned penetration. Penetration is the giving life in everything to start with, everything. For that reason, we will do nothing if we don't put penetration on top of our agenda.
Yeah.
Nothing we can do because of one reason. Insurance is ruled by law of big numbers. If we do not obey this law, if we do not create a big number, we are gambling. Now, creating a big number, it will provide us two things. It will provide to the insurance companies profitability because of the spread. Secondly, when they have this spread, they will come to the conclusion to reduce the premium. In the many developing countries, is the main issue, the cost of insurance. If we reduce the cost of insurance, we will help the penetration. You see this circle now, one help to the others.
Affordability is very key, yeah.
Yeah, it is, we need to these conferences. We need to make it issue to put the penetration on top. Now, one thing as a question is not a question, but I will put it as a question. We paid too much attention when the digitalization came. I love it. It's very useful. I was supporting it too. I want to find how much digitalization helped us to our penetration increase, number one. And now, AI going to take over digitalization and change everything. After the industrial revolution in UK, this is the more important, the second revolution going to happen, and it will affect our insurance industry as well. Now, if we don't pay attention now to penetration, we will also miss the opportunity of the AI to help us to increase the number of penetration. It is unspeakable number of penetration in many countries here. I mean, it will be a shame if I know them. It will be a shame to mention any country with that penetrations. Now, I was giving one conference in one country. I am not going to give the name. And I discovered that penetration in motor insurance was 20%. I said, bloody hell. If your compulsory insurance is penetration 20%, well, what are you doing? You are not doing insurance then. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ustad. Thank you. You want to take the floor, one of you? Alexandro, Levent Bey.
Thank you, yes. I mentioned penetration, so I'm, I'm very happy to take the question, at least from two angles. One is, yes, we see penetration for especially younger generations coming in some part from micro spur-of-the-moment embedded products. If insurance products are embedded in other kinds of daily activities. Imagine, and this already happens in many countries, you land in a new country, you turn on your phone, and then you get a notification about whether you want to buy travel insurance or not. This is what I mean by embedded products. But I think the short answer for the developing world, to increase penetration, you also need exogenous factors. Risky economic activity that is worthy of being protected, and excess wealth that can go into protecting that activity in the first place. When I look at trends also in Turkey, I do see positive numbers about excess wealth being created, deployed in insurance products, which in turn also invests back in the economy. But this is also the virtuous cycle that has to keep on going.
Yeah. Any other comments on this issue?
I mentioned penetration in the beginning of my speech, so I will not comment on that anymore, but I would like to say that I'm really happy to see you after, I think, 10 years, since we had some conferences together in Istanbul, that you are still full of energy and passion about insurance. So congratulations for that.
Thank you very much. Hepinize çok teşekkürler. Kapatıyorum paneli müsaadenizle. Hem zamanımızı aştık. Ben birbirinden değerli panelistlerimize huzurunuzda teşekkür ediyorum katılımlarınız için. Thank you very much for your contribution. We can close the panel. We have just for celebration, we have some plaquettes to issue to you.
Evet, şimdi bir plaket törenimiz olacak kısa ve fotoğraf çekimimiz. Sayın konuklarımız, herkesi saat 2'de tekrar burada bekliyoruz. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Teşekkürler. Fotoğraf çekimi olacak. Herkese plaketler elde mi oluyordu? Plaketler elde olmuyordu.